Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We've got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the most bullish Bitcoin crash of 2023. Yes, you heard that correctly. I believe that Bitcoin is about to go through a correction of a couple $1,000s, and I think that may be one of the most bullish things that will happen to Bitcoin this year. And in today's episode of Coffee and Crypto Live, we're going to be discussing exactly why a correction, a drop in the Bitcoin price, could actually be an extremely bullish setup for Bitcoin, especially moving in to the month of August. Very excited to be here today, guys. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys so very much for coming and joining us today. Love seeing you guys in chat. Grand Roofing Incorporated said, good morning, Job. Good morning, everybody. And then you corrected yourself to Jeb. So good morning, Grand Roofing Incorporated. Crypto Mini Bike in chat said, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you as well. Rocket Metal News in chat said, good morning, all. Joe Bollier said, good morning, Jeb. Bob Riley in chat. Philly Skills 1428. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. We're just going to go ahead and put some time out here because some people just aren't being very polite in chat, and I'm not too bothered by it. But we're going to keep the energy up. We're going to be very happy and have a great time. And feel free to give me any corrective criticism that you guys would like. But we're going to have a good attitude in chat, or we're just not going to be in chat. Gabriel Nieves Ramos in chat said, "Super contento." Excuse me. My wife, her first language is Spanish. Let me see if I can see what you're saying. Super contento de estar aquí, Jeb. Are you saying I have there's super content here, Jeb? I think that's what you're saying. I don't know. I apologize. Really appreciate you for tuning in. Patricio is in chat. Leah's in chat. Jonadab Benjamin is in chat. Carlos, Alex Nibo, Mike Lowry. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's go ahead and jump straight on over to CoinMarketCap. Really excited for today's show because Bitcoin has been moving. I was looking at the market capitalizations. Let's move back over here to the main screen. As you can see, Bitcoin is below $30,000 for the first time in a while, and I'm actually pretty excited about this. All month, Bitcoin has been above 30K, but Bitcoin has been having a lot of trouble getting above 31. As you know, we worked on a chart yesterday, and it started out relatively clean, and then it ended up like this. Excuse me. This is from yesterday's stream here. And we talked about how Bitcoin was in this sort of ascending triangle pattern, and there were two different ideas. Either one, Bitcoin would be able to break out relatively quickly up to around 32.5 to around 33, or Bitcoin would have to go through a correction, first down to 28,545, and then break out and rally above 34. And I told you yesterday, and I'll make this very short and brief, but I told you yesterday how that may actually end up being a very bullish thing for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin ends up going to, let's say, $36,000, which I think is a realistic price target, that would be an $11,000 rally from bottom to top, and that would makes sense because we've had so much bullishness coming into the space relatively recently. If Bitcoin were to shoot straight from 25 all the way up to 36 and move $11,000 to the upside, we will have gained $11,000 and we would have gained 45% in price action. If you had bought at the very bottom, sold at the very top, you would have made 45% on a 1x trade. However, if you bought at the top, bought at the bottom, sold at the top up here, where we hit at 31.5 last week, you would have made 28%. Then if we were to correct down to 28,545, you sold and then you rebought in down here at this bottom, effectively meaning that you're shorting the correction that we're about to see. And then you move into another trade again, then you got a 26% gain. That's a 53 to a 54% profit if you were able to trade those perfectly. Now, of course, you never would, but you wouldn't be able to trade them perfectly on the first scenario or on the second scenario. So let's just throw out that variable. instead of making 44% in that case, then by having this movement happen in two different, having this rally up to potentially $36,000 happen in two different movements, then you would end up potentially making not 44%, but 53 to 54%. And the reason for that is because you have about a 10% correction right there in the middle. And the other reason why that's so powerful is because by having that correction right in the middle, you do two things. Number one, you form a cup and handle formation, which is a very bullish formation, very bullish pattern that will help to give strength to that second leg of the movement. And two, it also means that we're going to be able to more confidently hold above the $30,000 region because we're setting the high 20s as a support zone. We're building up that VRVP support over here on the daily chart. So those are just a couple of recaps from yesterday's stream that I want to make sure that you guys are remembering, because it's very important that we understand where Bitcoin is likely to go and those two scenarios, and the likelihood that Bitcoin is probably going to go through that correction first before having that breakout to the upside, because that's going to help color our technical analysis today. And that's also going to give us the context for that statement I made at the beginning of the stream that may have seemed a little bit polarizing. If Bitcoin goes through a correction here, that may be one of the most bullish things that Bitcoin could do all year. We're going to be exploring that thesis all throughout today's live stream. So with Bitcoin trading at 29,850, we can see that it has moved to the downside 1.37% in the last 24 hours, down 1.82% in the last 7 days. It is up 1.63% in the last 90 days. Bitcoin has more or less traded sideways for the last 3 months. However, it's not that simple. This is why you got to look at your chart, not just CoinMarketCap. Because in the last 90 days, yes, Bitcoin is pretty much at the same level that it was before, but 90 days ago, Bitcoin spent about a week up here. So far, Bitcoin has spent the entire last month up here, right above above $30,000. So with Bitcoin spending so much time up above $30,000, that gives us an indication that Bitcoin bulls are stronger than they were before. So while these numbers may not look very bullish, looking at the chart for more context and more detail shows us that Bitcoin is in a better position than it was 3 months ago. And of course, we're still up 80% year to date. I expect that that will be up over 100% by year's end, with our bottom right around, what was it, $16,500 on Bitcoin, $15,500, excuse me. It's going to be relatively easy for Bitcoin to maintain a 100% year-to-date percentage increase throughout the rest of this year as we approach the that $31,000 to $32,000 region, which will likely by this point happen in mid to late August. Now, looking at Ethereum, it's more or less done the exact same thing. It's basically trading sideways, going through a corrective movement, but it is managing to recapture some of those highs, and it's in a pretty solid uptrending trading channel right now. I wouldn't say it's in as healthy of a position as it was 3 months ago, but of course, Ethereum, just like the rest of the altcoins, has taken a bit of a beating with the fact that Bitcoin has run away with the market dominance, and also the fact that all of the altcoins are under pressure right now, except for one in particular, and that's the next one I want to cover, that being XRP. XRP is currently sitting at 76 cents. If you've been living under a rock and you did not hear, a ruling for the XRP case finally came out, and we discovered a few things. Number one, we found out that XRP is not in it of itself a security. That is now legal precedence in a watershed case that will be a landmark case that will be used in future cases against securities allegations against cryptocurrencies. Number two, we know that the distribution, the initial distribution of XRP on exchanges was not a securities sale. It was not an unregistered securities sale. Number three, though, and this is the bearish piece of news, is that we're not really quite sure just yet whether or not it was a sale of security when Brad Garlinghouse and the other executives at Ripple sold to other sophisticated investors, is the lingo that we've been hearing quite a lot. That may be a unregistered sale of securities violation, but we don't quite know that just yet. All in all, for the most part, a win for XRP. XRP has been doing very well, and that's why I say of all the altcoins, XRP might be, funnily enough, in the best position right now compared to the rest of the altcoins, because XRP had to be tried by fire first. Excuse me, I think I'm getting sick. I'm having a difficult time keeping my throat clear. Sorry about that. XRP was tried by fire first. It was brought under the gaze and the auspices of the SEC several years ago, whereas many of these alleged SEC alleging securities, cryptocurrencies such as Binance, Cardano, etc., those have just come under attack from the SEC right now. on June 5th, about a month and a half ago. XRP has already traveled through that multiple year journey of finding out, is it a security? Is it not? It takes years for these kind of court cases to clear. It's a very slow and lethargic process. And so we may see this hampering effect on Bitcoin and on the rest of the altcoins moving into the, on the altcoins, Ethereum and the rest of the altcoins moving into the next bull market, whereas the XRP might just kind of be free to flap its wings and go and do whatever Brad Garlinghouse and the executives over at Ripple want to do with it. I think that Bitcoin and XRP are both going to perform quite well during this bull market, and I think Ripple is going to have a great time growing their business moving into the next couple of years, helping to support interbank transfers, which is obviously a very, very large industry, which Ripple and XRP are working together to revolutionize. So, what's going on in the altcoins? Quite simply, the altcoins are still under this spirit of heaviness, if you will, and it's going to take some time to see how that clears. Luckily, we did have some very bullish news in that XRP was deemed not a security, and its initial sale was deemed to not be a securities offering, and so that does give us some positive precedents, which should help if the SEC actually brings cases against any of these cryptocurrencies, which it has alleged are indeed securities. So, let's continue here and talk a little bit about what is going on Bitcoin and why I believe that a corrective movement may be a movement that would actually end up being very, very bullish for Bitcoin. I'm very excited to tell you that because a lot of times when people are seeing corrections on Bitcoin, the temptation is to freak out and scream and run for the hills because Bitcoin is crashing. Oh no, Bitcoin's crashing. Whatever shall we do? The very first thing we do is we look at our technical analysis. The very first thing we do is that we try to use our head as much as we possibly can, and we appreciate the technical analysis that we have learned over the last several years because it's going to help us to understand what we need to do moving forward with this market. As you can see, Bitcoin was sitting in this ascending triangle pattern with a zone of resistance, between 31 and 31.8. At the same time, there was this uptrending level of support that Bitcoin was holding. That uptrending level of support has been in play for more or less the entire year. You can go back and chart it further, but basically what matters is that it has been a moving trend line that's been relevant for a number of touches over the course of the last 6 months. That uptrending level of support was broken yesterday in accordance to what we predicted would happen, which is that the correction was going to begin probably today or tomorrow. That correction, as we can see, has now begun. Bitcoin has broken below that uptrending level of support, and it is also broken below the $30,000 level of support that we saw just there. You can see on Monday at 1400 hours, we bottomed out around 29.7, and now we are trying to institute a double bottom around 29.7 as well. What is shocking to me, not shocking, what is noteworthy to me is that when Bitcoin began this correction, it pretty much parabolically moved to the downside. We had one kind of final hurrah from the bulls, and then we had another parabolic movement to the downside. Unless Bitcoin is able to really put in some kind of strong higher high on the hourly chart than it has so far, this is definitely smelling like the bears are in charge. And I want to remind you of something I said yesterday, at risk of repeating myself, but I think it's important. This correction, I don't believe, is from a huge amount of bearish sentiment. There's a big difference between a correction like this, where we saw a massive amount of bearish sentiment coming in from FTX imploding on itself. There's a big difference between our correction right now and the kind of correction we saw on June 4th, 5th, and 6th, where we saw the SEC attacked the two largest cryptocurrency exchanges, one of the biggest individuals, and about 60 different cryptocurrencies, all within 48 hours. Those two corrections were fundamental events. They were led by strong bearish sentiment. If anything, sentiment has continued to improve over the last week. We've had the XRP ruling, which was very bullish for Bitcoin, as well as XRP, as well as the outlook for the altcoins and some of that uncertainty that's been hanging over their fate. It was very bullish when BlackRock had its ETF moved on to the approval process. And actually, I have just a really quick article here I can bring up about that. Valkyrie BRRR spot BTC ETF enters SEC NASDAQ rulemaking list. This is essentially what I was talking about yesterday as well. The SEC has begun to officially review the proposal by Valkyrie for a spot Bitcoin ETF. If you don't know, they already have a futures-based ETF that was launched in October of 2021, but now they are, the SEC starting the actual approval process, approval review process for that spot ETF as well. So we're having quite a lot of bullish sentiment coming out right now. There are Bitcoin spot ETFs being reviewed left and right by the SEC. We're hoping that one of them will get through. BlackRock's most likely will. There's a 240-day timer to either approve or deny those applications after they begin the review process. So we should have our answer by March of next year. Hopefully sooner than that, but no later than March of next year on these applications that have just been taken into approval. So the sentiment is very, very very positive on Bitcoin right now. Anyone who's watching the news sees this XRP case, sees BlackRock moving forward with the Bitcoin ETF. They see that we're moving towards the halving, and a lot of institutions are remembering that, and they're thinking, okay, going on to the halving, 4-year halving cycle. Very easy concept for a financial advisor to pitch to a Fortune 500 CEO. Every 4 years, Bitcoin goes through a correction, through a bull market. Here's the chart. It's happened every time. These are the on-chain. BlackRock, you know them? Whoa, they're 1,000 times bigger than us. Yeah, you know them? They're betting on it. They're putting a Bitcoin application in for the ETF. Whoa, wait a minute. Maybe we should invest $100 million in Bitcoin on the corporate standpoint. How do we do that? Okay, we go on over to compliance. We go on over to legal, and we say, oh, how do we make that work? I don't know. We still have to cross that bridge. But the conversation going on in the top floor of the skyscrapers, the financial world over, is this. Bitcoin is slated to have a bull market next year, and if you want to be able to double your investment and bring shareholder value and then get brownie points with your investors, put 1% of the company's treasury into Bitcoin. If you're an investment management firm, put 2% of your clients' net worth into Bitcoin. If that's something that, I'm not giving you that advice, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm telling you what financial advisors are telling their clients. Put 2% of your investment into Bitcoin. Use it as your risk, as part of your risk on portfolio. Everybody ought to have an investment strategy set up where they have low risk, medium risk, and high risk investments. Many people look at Bitcoin as that high risk category. If you're in crypto, you might look at it as the low risk or medium risk. But for most investors, you're looking at a high risk portfolio. You're looking at your startups. You're looking at Apple in the 90s. You're looking at Amazon in the 2000s. You're looking at Uber and Lyft and DoorDash in the 2010s. You're looking at Airbnb in the 2010s. Those are your high risk, high return crypto stocks and cryptocurrencies. And now the investing world is starting to look at Bitcoin and saying that kind of fits into my category. It's big enough. It's worth $500 billion. It's got a long enough track record. It's been here for 12 years. It's got sound technology. It's unhackable. All right, let's put 2% into it. And the investing world and the investing community the world over is waiting to put money into Bitcoin, and they're waiting on a couple of things. They're waiting to see what's going to happen with this SEC case, with these SEC cases. They've got one of the answers now. They're waiting to see what's going to happen with the BlackRock ETF, and they're also waiting for the halving. All that bullishness is coming in. All of that is vital context for what we're discussing today, because if we're going to look at a correction down to 28,545 as a bullish thing, I want you to understand how it fits into the larger picture. So let's talk about that correction down to 28,545, which I think is, I don't want to be dramatic here, but I think is pretty likely at this point. And if it doesn't happen, fine. It is very possible that Bitcoin is just bottoming out again at the same level that it bottomed out at on the 7th of July. It's very possible that Bitcoin is just setting another bottom down here and it's going to range high, and we're going to go back to 31.5. Whatever. Whether it goes up or down, I'm telling you both of the scenarios, and then whichever one happens, you'll be ready for both. I think there has been an overemphasis that I've placed on it, but that many people have placed on technical analysis of trying to predict the future about what the market's going to do. I think there is value in that, but ultimately, what we need to do is we need to make the different price predictions and say, here's one price prediction, here's the other price prediction, here's the opposing price prediction, here's there's 4 of them, there's 3 of them, there's 2 of them, 1 of them, whatever, and say, this is the likelihood that each one happens. Here's our strategy and our plan to actually profit from each of those. And so that's where I believe that we can be very profitable in the cryptocurrency space if we apply a plan to each one of those strategies and each one of those predictions. So the 2 obvious predictions on the table, this is pretty much how it's always going to go, is Bitcoin bounces up, it corrects down, or it trades sideways. There's pretty much always going to be 3 scenarios. Bitcoin does one of those. Now, I might do some variation of this. You could say, okay, the price prediction is moonshots tomorrow, or it goes through a more gradual uptrend. There could be 2 scenarios like that, and there's almost no chance of it correcting to the downside, theoretically. But normally, it's going to be up, down, sideways. Those are your 3 possible movements, and you want to be prepared for each one of them. Today, I'm focusing on the correction, but it is obviously very possible that Bitcoin holds its level here, and it holds fast and holds firm, and then it manages to rally. This, to my understanding of technical analysis, looks nothing like any of these other corrections. This looks significantly bearish than what we've seen in these corrections back here, so I do give it a higher likelihood at this point that we're going to break down to support. Again, that support would probably be found between 27.5 and 28.5 over the next 1 to 2 weeks, moving into the beginning of August, looking for a rally then. So let's talk about why this may be the most bullish correction Bitcoin will see all year. That is the statement, and I'm going to defend it. And let's keep in mind, there have been some very bullish corrections. This correction right here was very bullish for Bitcoin. That being said, is not as bullish as this correction we're talking about here. The reason is, this correction that we saw here in February of 2023, moving on into March of 2023, really made a lot of people question whether or not we were actually going into a bull market. It made a lot of people question, okay, well, we rejected at the previous local high here at the bottom of the bear market. The bear market had three major highs. This correction was a rejection off of the third high, indicating to us, okay, maybe the bear market's not over. This correction during that time, and if we just kind of turn the chart off for a second, turn all our drawings off and go on the replay tool, this correction at the time, remembering that these two highs right here are equivalent, many people were concerned, oh man, we've now seen Bitcoin is actually not out of the bear market. We're going to go even lower. That correction was very discouraging for many people. I don't think this correction brought a lot of hope. I don't think it brought a lot of confidence. Now, Bitcoin did turn around and go through a massive rally, but at the time, I would not have called this a bullish correction. This was a correction that brought a lot of FUD and a lot of very, very, very negative sentiment to the space. Moving forward, there was, of course, another correction. I would say this has been the most bullish correction so far this year because it was a very healthy correction. I think the one that we're about to see is going to be even healthier. But this correction that we saw in April, May, and on into the first part of June, I believe was very good for the market. Bitcoin was able to correct healthily. The bulls were able to hold themselves up very strong. We held above $25,000. Just going to a clean chart, which I don't have many of those anymore, but I'll just show you right here. On this trend line, I'll just change this to this cyan color or whatever. We bottomed out at the high that we rejected from before that we were so despaired to have resisted at, and we held here, and then we bounced very quickly. I'd say this was a relatively bullish correction. It was a healthier correction. This was a correction that we called. I told you guys back here, we're probably going to spend a month or two, and we're probably going to correct down to 25,236. I don't want to say I told you so, and I've definitely gotten predictions wrong, but that is a correction that we predicted. I did predict that it would happen a little bit quicker than it did, but that it ended up going almost exactly where we talked about it going. We talked about going to 25,236. It went to $25,000, almost to the T. And from there, Bitcoin went through a major rally. This was a bullish correction. Corrections can be bullish. They can be consolidative. If we look at the VRVP, we built a huge amount of VRVP support right here between $26,000 and $28,000 that is coming very much in handy right now. We're very glad that we did all that trading now. It's a little bit like this. If you, let's say you hate running, but you decide, I'm going to run anyway. I'm going to go to the gym every single day. I'm going to run a mile, even if it takes me 3 hours to do it. And I'm just going to, boom, I'm going to run 6 miles a week, no matter what. I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to become an amazing runner, even though I hate it. You might not like that in the moment. That may be brutal in the moment. You might accidentally injure yourself. Please don't overwork yourself. You can definitely do that in all areas of life, including the gym, but it might not be pleasant in the moment. But then a couple years later, you're on safari and a lion starts chasing you and you're able to run to your little Jeep and drive off, and the only reason you're able to do that is because you were in the gym that whole time. You're now glad that you went through all that pain because it saved your life later. It's a little bit like what's happening on Bitcoin. This was boring. This was miserable. It was just this slow grind where we really had to lean on our delayed gratification skills, on the character of embracing and loving delayed gratification. And now we're happy that it happened. This correction was miserable because it was 3 months long. But the fact it took so long was a bullish sign, and it gave us hope. So this was a bullish correction, although it was a difficult one because it was the first major bullish correction of the rally. I think the bull market has started to mature. And I believe that if Bitcoin does break below this uptrending level of support, and of course, whether it does or whether it doesn't is a little bit of a moot point because we can be prepared for both scenarios. But if it does, and I think it's more likely that it will, that Bitcoin's correction down to this level would likely be relatively quick, and it would likely be relatively shallow. It would likely be something that would give us all of the preparation that we need to break up to those next levels. And by the way, we're right above $30,000 again, so that's wonderful. It would likely give us all of the preparation that we need to break up to those next highs, i.e. breaking above $31,000 into the mid $30,000 range. It would be a shorter correction than this. It would be a shallower correction than this correction. This correction was $6,000 and it took 60 days. It was $100 a day on average. This correction would be likely $4,000 and it'd take 20. Be a little bit quicker, a little bit deeper, but it would also give an excellent buying opportunity so long as Bitcoin holds above this uptrend. And unless the market sentiment shifts in a major way, I think it likely would do that. There's also plenty of other factors in the Bitcoin market that are giving Bitcoin bullishness that I don't think have really kicked in just yet. For example, the SPY is at local high. It will probably be at all-time high potentially by the end of the year if it continues moving this in this parabolic fashion. The Dixie's jumping off a cliff and setting a bear flag at the same time. Potentially could go even lower. We've talked about how the Dixie could go all the way down to this uptrend at 94. So we could end up seeing another 6 to 8 months of dropping on Dixie because the effective federal funds rate hiking has stopped and the rest of the central banks are still doing a little bit. There's quite a bit you could discuss over there, but we'll leave that for another day. The point is, there's a lot of that, and somebody mocked me in chat for this yesterday, but it is absolutely a real thing. Delayed bullishness. And what I mean by that is that when you have this kind of these bullish events, sometimes they don't impact the Bitcoin price in a bullish facet right now. Sometimes you've got to wait a little bit for the market to get in the right position. For example, there are, let's see if I can think of something off the top of my head. I don't know if I can think of anything off the top of my head. Backed. This might not be a great example because Backed didn't end up doing a whole lot, but Backed launched during the bear market. Didn't really do a whole lot bullish for the industry, but it ended up being a little bit more bullish later on in the bull market. There are many other better examples than that, but some of the updates that Bitcoin has witnessed may not have impacted the Bitcoin price that day, but a year, 2 years, 3 years later, when Bitcoin was in bull market, you can bet your bottom Satoshi that those fundamental developments were helping Bitcoin. And so the same thing is happening here. When the stock market's going into a rally, when the Dixie is moving down, when we are seeing when we're seeing the SEC take Bitcoin ETF applications more seriously, seemingly than ever, when we're seeing BlackRock moving into the ETF game, when we're seeing XRP, the Bitcoin ETF game, when we're seeing XRP mostly win its case and set strong, positive, bullish legal precedent for the rest of the altcoins, all of these are bullish factors that may not have their day today, but nevertheless will. And so if Bitcoin does go through this major corrective movement, all of those bullish factors are still putting pressure on the market sentiment. All of those bullish factors are still helping Bitcoin to go through a rally when that rally comes. And it means that the next rally, wherever it is, will be stronger. And if Bitcoin does have the grace, does have the ability to correct $3,000 to $4,000 first, it is going to be in great position. Let me just ask you this. How high can you jump if you start from standing vertically? If you start from standing all the way up, how high can you jump? Now, try squatting down all the way to the floor where your butt's touching the floor. If you were to jump from that position, you're probably going to be able to jump at least a foot higher. And that's similar to what Bitcoin is experiencing. If Bitcoin corrects further, it's going to be able to jump higher. If Bitcoin tries to jump here, it's all in the calves. If Bitcoin's able to jump from down here, Bitcoin gets to use its entire lower body to institute and instigate that larger jump all the way up to probably $34,000 to $36,000. Like a slingshot, the further you pull it back, the further it's going to fly. Same thing with a bow, a ballista, whatever it is you want to call it. It is going to be able to store up more potential energy to convert into kinetic energy later and send us further to the upside. So that is why I believe that if Bitcoin does go through this correction down to $28,545, it will be the most bullish correction in price that Bitcoin has seen all year, and potentially will be the most bullish correction that Bitcoin will see throughout the entirety of the year of 2023. I'd love to hear your opinions on that in chat. I know plenty of people are going to think, Jeb, wait just a second. You're saying Bitcoin's going to drop and it's going to be a good thing. Are you crazy? Are you stupid? Are you paying attention to technical analysis? I would like to say that yes, I am. And the reason that I believe the correction on Bitcoin would be so positive is not only because it would allow for Bitcoin to gear up to move farther to the upside, but it would also give you, the trader and the investor, to build a market, to build a portfolio that will be able to make you more money. So let me go ahead and show you over here on the chart what I mean. If Bitcoin does go to $36,000, which is a price target that we've discussed, as you know, out on LuxAlgo on the 3-daily chart, that is pretty much the bottom of the 3-daily chart take profit that LuxAlgo is giving us. If you don't know, LuxAlgo gives some absolutely remarkable signals. I'm a huge fan of it, and the take profit for LuxAlgo signals right now, for LuxAlgo on the 3-daily chart, is between $36,500 and $42,000 for this buy signal that we just experienced. If we go back before this sell signal, buy signal came in and reset things, we were looking at a take profit between $31,500 all the way up to $38,000. So I think $34,000 to $36,000 is a pretty healthy range to consider right now. Even if you go down to the daily chart, the price target there is still at its high, $34,000. So I do think 34 to 36 is a realistic level for Bitcoin to go to after it goes through its next leg of rally. Now, to get there, we are going to see Bitcoin have to go through the rally, of course. Maybe I should start by saying that Bitcoin can either, one, bounce from here up to, let's just say 35 to cut the difference and make it a little simpler. And it would move $5,300 to the upside, 17.87% to the upside. Or if Bitcoin began down at 28,545, instead of moving 18%, it would move 23%. It's a full 5% larger gain. If you are not in a position yet, you are almost benefiting from shorting the market by waiting longer to buy in. I'm not saying you can't buy in Bitcoin right now. It's not a bad buy. I think Bitcoin will be significantly higher, above $30,000 by year's end, probably $40,000 or a little bit more. That being said, if you're looking to trade this, there's absolutely nothing wrong either with trading it, with buying in at 28.5 with a hope of it going to the mid-30s, and then basically trading another major movement like what we saw in mid-June. That's likely to be what happens. We're likely to see another major movement. And could we drop down here again, down to 26.5 or something? Sure we could. Absolutely we could. There's all kinds of scenarios that could happen, but we want to be prepared for what's most likely, and yes, we also do want to be prepared for the contingencies. But if Bitcoin does drop down to 26.5, great. Ladder in. Get some Bitcoin if that's what you see fit. I'm not trying to give you financial advice. I do want you to make your own decisions. Do not blindly follow what I am telling you to do. But something for you to consider would be potentially coming in and saying, all right, maybe I want to buy some more. Maybe I want to ladder in and prepare for that swing high up to $35,000. The further Bitcoin corrects, since we are so bullish on the market right now, the higher the Bitcoin, the higher the profit that you would likely be able to have on that Bitcoin trade. All right, let's read some chat. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Let's see here. Super happy to be here is what that means, Jeb. Oh, thank you. Super happy to be here. Oh man, I knew that. I know that word. Oh man, come on. I don't know if am I pronouncing super right? Is it just pronounced super in Spanish? Super contento de estar aquí Jeb. Yes, thank you. I'm sure my wife will text me in a second and say, Jeb, dummy, I taught you that. No, I'm kidding. My wife's very kind. She never talks to me that way. Jeb constantly out of breath, stopping and swallowing and smacking his lips. A little slow down, buddy. We ain't going nowhere. No, if you really want to know what's going on, I actually just had my protein shake right before I got on, and I didn't clear my mouth. So that's been the problem. If you must know, that would be the problem. It wasn't that I was talking too quick. I also think I'm getting sick, so that's not helping. Contento is happy. That's right. Oh, man, I knew that. I think I got confused because I forgot about feliz. I thought feliz meant, but there's two words for happy in Spanish. There's two words for happy. I am not very, very good at Spanish. I will admit that, but I am learning a little bit. Vitamin C now, Jeb, and zinc lozenges. Thank you. Trust being healed, not trust being sick. Maybe drink water, and God will help you. Absolutely, He will. All right, really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much. Good deal. Any questions you guys have, Tell me, and we'll go ahead and discuss those. Do you think that BlackRock ETF will actually hurt Bitcoin due to the lack of actual crypto investment? Well, I don't think so, because I think it'll bring in a huge amount. I think it'll bring in a massive amount of interest into the space. I believe that it's going to legitimize the space in a way that has never been done before. Elon Musk buying into Bitcoin and then selling it, or MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin. These are all kind of medium deals. Elon Musk bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. MicroStrategy got in, but MicroStrategy is not the biggest company in the world. They're one of the biggest companies that's invested in Bitcoin, but they're not honestly that big of a company in the stock world, in corporate finance. BlackRock, however, is not only one of the biggest, it is the largest name in investment, hands down. They've got $9.5 trillion of assets under management. They are the titan of investment. They are the juggernaut of investment. No one beats them. No one compares to how much money they have invested in under management. It's not even close, actually. And so if BlackRock gets a spot Bitcoin ETF, I would argue that the impact on the sentiment, the impact on the trust from the general public, the 330 million people living in America and the world over that are invested in Bitcoin or thinking about investing in Bitcoin, I think that is 10 times more powerful than what we are seeing just because of the spot ETF itself. Just the fact that BlackRock has put its name behind Bitcoin and they are willing to offer that as an investment product for their clients is something that I believe is so much more important than anything else we have seen in a very long time. I believe that's one of the biggest bullish stories that Bitcoin will have this decade, and it could lead to hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars flowing into the space, because everybody thinks, well, if BlackRock stands behind it, then something must be right about it. You see, it's a little bit like certifications. People want to see, what are your certifications? What are your classifications? How many numbers and letters do you have after your name? People have this inherent desire to feel trust. And one of the easiest ways that people feel trust, and this isn't always the best thing, this is kind of a lazy way that the human brain works, but one of the ways that people trust whether something is what it says it is by what somebody else says about it. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. A practical example, if somebody's talking about astrophysics and you've got me in the room who's an enthusiast and I studied astrophysics, as a hobby in middle and high school, you put me and you put Neil deGrasse Tyson in a room, that dude's going to know way more about astrophysics than I do because he got a PhD in it and he works in it every single day. Way more. He's going to blow me out of the water. If you didn't have 3 hours to talk to both of us and quiz both of us, you could just say, which one of you has actually studied this professionally and done this as a job? And Neil deGrasse Tyson will say, I run the Hayden Planetarium, and I have a PhD in this, and I've been doing this for 40 years. And what have you done, Jeb? Oh, I thought it was cool, so I watched a bunch of documentaries in middle school. You're going to know who's the more experienced astrophysicist, right? I'm not an astrophysicist, but who knows more about it? Similarly, and the reason for that is because you have this level of trust where you can say, boom, this. Boom, this degree. Boom, this experience. Boom, this person recommends them. Whatever. People, if you're meeting somebody new and you're going to do business with a attorney, whatever it is, somebody might give you a referral and say, I really believe in this person. You might say, oh, they're part of the bar, so whatever. Obviously, all the lawyers are part of the bar association, but they might have this certain certification. I have trust for them, right? Because I can see all these things that are on a resume. Basically like the rap sheet, better way of thinking about it, the resume of an individual or an investment. What's the resume of Bitcoin? Well, right now the resume, been around 13 years. It's worth $500 billion. It's been worth over $1 trillion. It's been in the $1 trillion asset category. It's been larger than almost every single other company on planet Earth. It's had millions of people investing in it. It is unhackable. It is almost instantaneous transaction, has almost instantaneous transaction abilities compared to the international banking system, has ridiculously low fees proportional to how much money you're spending. If you're sending $5, not great. If you're sending $500 million, wonderful. It's had the likes of Elon Musk invest in it. Michael Saylor's invested in it, and his company's gone from X to X, increased by the 1,600% market capitalization. There is an entire industry growing right now. There's conferences every year. Rap sheet, the resume looks pretty good. You know what you put at the very top of that resume if you're Bitcoin? You put the largest investment management firm on planet Earth gave us their seal of approval. That's what you put at the top of that resume, and you hand to somebody and say, here's why you may consider investing in Bitcoin. Here's a piece of paper. I'm not doing that. I'm not a financial advisor, but here's what a financial advisor might do for one of their clients. Here you go. This is what Bitcoin has going for it. Here's why you should trust that it's an investment that you should go for. So you hand that to people and you say, wow, this looks like a better investment on a one-sheeter resume than almost every single other company in the entire stock market. And when you hand that to people and it says at the top, BlackRock, assets under management, $9.4 trillion, believes in Bitcoin enough to make sure that it's available for their clients because it can bring them value and therefore increase the shareholder value of BlackRock, that is a vote of confidence. That means a lot. I'm a little bit off. It seems like I'm a little bit off on a tangent, but I don't think I am. I believe the point I'm trying to make here is that with BlackRock getting into Bitcoin, I don't think the primary value in that is just that it's going to bring investment directly into Bitcoin. Because a lot of times ETFs aren't. A lot of times they're derivatives. I need to look in to see which one it is, whether it's an actual derivative or it's actually taking custody. That's something I need to check into. But whether it is one or the other, the fact of the matter is, it's not the point. The point is, you're going to have investment in Bitcoin because people trust in Bitcoin, because BlackRock trusts enough in Bitcoin to give it to its to offer it to its clientele. Good deal. All right. I think we're in a huge bull trap. I definitely feel we should be back in the 20K mark near the end of the year. Possibly, very possibly, because there is this looming sentiment that I have also that, like, oh man, are people really going to latch on to Bitcoin this year? Is Bitcoin really going to get the adoption this year that we're hoping for? I think that it will. But of course, we're going to have to wait and see. As always, we're going to have to wait and see. Michael Parsons said, hey, did I miss Jeb speaking Spanish? Lol. You missed me attempting to speak Spanish. Yes, you did. Let's see. Who was it? Somebody said, gosh, I got to find it. Someone said, hello from Colombia. Joe Voss said, hello, Jeb from Colombia. Hola, Jeb de Colombia? I don't know how you would say that. I want to learn Spanish, but right now I'm just making a fool of myself. It's so funny. Whenever we're out, my wife is half Puerto Rican, and hear this the right way because this is relevant. She doesn't look Puerto Rican. You wouldn't know if you didn't tell her. Her first language is Spanish, though, so nobody ever assumes that she speaks Spanish. Nobody ever assumes she speaks Spanish. And in the States, most people don't speak Spanish. So if two people that speak Spanish are trying to have a private conversation and they're bilingual, they'll just speak in Spanish. So we were meeting Mickey at Disney World. My son loves Mickey Mouse, and so we were meeting Mickey at Disney World. One of the things about financial sovereignty that I want to teach you guys is enjoy your money and enjoy your life and make memories with your family. I had so much fun. My son had so much fun. My wife had so much fun. We had so much fun at Disney on the 4th of July. We were there, Disney World in Orlando. And we were in the line to meet Mickey. It was like a 40-minute wait, right? And there were there was a 7-year-old and his grandmother behind us, and she was speaking Spanish to him, and she was kind of scolding him in Spanish. And my wife, again, nobody ever assumes that she speaks Spanish, so she could hear what the grandma was saying to the kid. She told me later, she's like, man, she was being mean to that kid. She didn't think I understood her. Happens all the time. So funny. If you're ever around us and you're trying to have a private conversation, do it in your made-up imaginary language from when you were in 3rd grade. Don't do it in Spanish because my wife is very fluent in Spanish. It's always very funny because I have no idea what they're saying because I can speak, un poquito de español. But obviously her first language is Spanish. Anyway, let's see. Manuel Solorio said, good morning, Jeb. Didn't load up on as much BTC when I should have, but was able to sell some XRP. I'd like to get back in. If we go to the mid-30s, can you cover what kind of correction we might see after? Great question. I can do that briefly, and then we're going to have to wrap it out here in a couple of minutes. If we go to the mid-30s, I think you're going to see a correction. And the reason I can do this so quickly is because it's very simple. If we go to the mid-30s, I think that we're going to correct back down to 31, and then we're going to correct, and then we're going to move to the upside, probably a little bit slower towards the end of the year, and we'll just have this kind of gradual accumulation throughout the rest of the year. It would probably look at something a little bit like this. Trying to be pretty particular in the way I draw that. The reason for that is because that's what we've seen happen before. That's what we've seen happen so far, and I think that that's a strong precedent that Bitcoin will probably reset. Rallied up to 25,236, corrected, broke through it, back tested it, broke up to 31, testing that same level. Now we're probably going to break through 31, come back test it, and then use it as future support, setting $30,000 as our new baseline. Breaking up to 30K, you'll probably pull back to right around where we are right now. So you'll probably see a level something like $30,000 again in the future, but we're going to have higher highs to contend with. And obviously, that'll be very bullish. So if you buy in around below 30, I think you're going to be looking good. Someone said, good morning, sir. Love your show. Good morning to you as well. All right. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Like I said, we are going to have to go ahead and wrap it out. But before we do, I do first want to encourage you guys in two things. First and foremost, make sure you go on over to the Bitcoin Academy. It's linked in the description box down below. And come on over and check out Principles of Technical Analysis. If you have not already, this is the place where we're going to teach you everything that you need to know about technical analysis so that you can hit the ground running, trading and investing in the cryptocurrency space. We have dozens of videos over here teaching you everything that you need to know about crypto so that you don't have to get lost trying to find out all this information. We're giving you answers to questions you didn't even know to ask, and we're going to help you to become an expert technical analyst so that you can apply it to your trading. Very excited about Principles of Technical Analysis because it is the one-stop shop for you to learn how to do technical analysis, and I'm so excited because you're going to be able to apply that to your trading and your investing, and you're going to be able to become a profitable investor in the cryptocurrency space. If you have not already, make sure to head on over to Club DeFi's Principles of Technical Analysis and sign up today. And if you are a CT2A alumni, you can use a coupon code that you will find in CT2A to get Principles of Technical Analysis off for 25% off. Again, if you're in if you're in CT2A and you have access to CT2A, there's a video right here at the start that says this. Get 25% off Club DeFi's Principles of Technical Analysis here. Now, this is locked. You got to be a member of CT2A, but if you're an alumni of CT2A, we gave you a 25% off coupon code. You can go find that at the very beginning of CT2A. And also, guys, make sure if you haven't already to sign up for Lux Algo. It's an incredible technical indicator. It's, by the way, you want the resume of Bitcoin. I showed you that. The resume of Lux Algo has predicted not only every single rally that's happened this year, major rally it shows up on the daily chart, not only has it predicted every single rally, it's also predicted the level that rally would go to. So not only did it predict when the rally was going to happen, it also predicted how far the rally would go with, I'd have to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure with basically 100% accuracy. It's an incredible technical indicator, and you're missing out by not having it. So use coupon code JEB30, that's JEBB30 for 30% off at checkout, using the links in the description box down below. Make sure you have those two products. You're going to be so glad you did. I got to go, but before I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.